So that way, the audience can feel like, wow, this founder actually gets me. I love their story. I love their mission. I love their passion behind this. I feel like they're speaking directly to me. A lot of times when they feel that connected to the guy at the top or the girl at the top of the company, they feel better about spending their dollars with that organization because they feel that kinship with them. They feel like they're being directly kind of communicated with compared to, oh, there's 1,000 people that work here. Nobody even knows what the CEO even looks like, let alone where his head is at, for helping people like me. There is a huge difference
Yeah.
there, in storytelling. So.
And I think it's also that usually when you see a post by the CEO of a company, there's usually it's overly sanitized or kind of like there's like a PR press release. Your business's success depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Brian Kurian. Blending sales and copywriting teachings, Brian offers personalized premium ghostwriting and editing services to any entrepreneur interested in writing their next book to promote their business and set themselves up as an expert in their industry. Brian owns Brian Kurian's Business Services, LLC, which provides copywriting, grant writing, and business consulting services to entrepreneurs. He graduated from Central Michigan University with a bachelor's degree in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has been a passion of Brian since he was a little boy. From running lemonade stands to owning and writing coaching businesses and coaching other entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurial spirit has always been alive within Brian. Most salespeople lack a fundamental understanding of copywriting. On the flip side, many copywriters don't know the fundamentals of selling. However, where these two professions and skills sets intersect is exactly where you can find Brian. He has spent a lifetime learning the sales methodologies and best practices in copywriting. Brian has experience in ghostwriting, blogging, and freelance writing and copywriting coaching. He has worked with various industries, achieving results for his clients due to the versatility and depth of his knowledge that he brings to the table. Congrats on your expertise in copywriting and sales, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Karl. Thanks for having me.
So I'd love to discuss with you how, in an age when so many clients and other professionals want to connect more with the owners of companies, the founders, the CEOs, but often these CEOs are not great at communicating or telling their own stories or kind of creating content. How is it that ghostwriters can really fill that role and help them build stronger relationships in an age when more and more people want to have those closer connections?
Yeah, I think it's an excellent question. I think one of the things is, it's not even that I often meet founders and CEOs who aren't necessarily good at telling their story or being able to convey their passion for their brand or their products or services. I mean, this is their business. Typically, they made a lot of sacrifices and different strategic moves to be able to have this business, and they took some risks to be sitting in this seat, right? Lord knows I have in my business. And with all that being said, the problem typically tends to be these people are busy. They're busy building their business, busy trying to, take care of the employees. Many of them have families just like me, they know it's important to tell that story, create content, build a following, go get more clients, et cetera, get more people involved in the journey. But where is the time? Where is the energy for all that? There's only so many hours they can work. And so working with a premium ghostwriter like myself, this is typically what I tend to do is one of the things I help with is, so if they have a memoir or a business-oriented book that they want to write, that revolves around their life story as well as their actual business and different products and services that they offer, and kind of using that as a lead magnet, for themselves and their business, they can offload a lot of the headache and the time and the stress of the writing process, the editing process, the formatting, all of that stuff. When it comes to a book or, social media content, thought leadership articles, etc. The books are really what we lean the most heavily into. They tend to be the most useful. But, for folks that just want some content created via blog posts or thought leadership articles, etc., we do help with that as well. So that way, the audience can feel like, wow, this founder actually gets me. I love their story. I love their mission. I love their passion behind this. I feel like they're speaking directly to me. A lot of times when they feel that connected to the guy at the top or the girl at the top of the company, they feel better about spending their dollars with that organization because they feel that kinship with them. They feel like they're being directly kind of communicated with compared to, oh, there's 1,000 people that work here. Nobody even knows what the CEO even looks like, let alone where his head is at, for helping people like me. There is a huge difference there, in storytelling. So.
And I think it's also that usually when you see a post by the CEO of a company, there's usually it's overly sanitized or kind of like there's like a PR press release. It's not really them speaking, it's just like it's being posted on their profile or like their channel, but it's not really them saying it.
Yeah.
And so I understand there's, especially with a publicly traded company, what the CEO says can impact stock price and perception. And so they can't just be out there saying anything, but having the someone who can help them kind of with delegating the time and the effort of writing, but also helping them find that brand voice for them that is so. I know a lot of people the way they say it, if they're speaking to it, is not the way they write it, and so there can be a disconnect there. People used to seeing them like on video format talking about something versus when they write it, it can sound different. So having someone who can help them refine that, but also like just make it again more personal or that more human can like sort of writing rather than the press release or the thing you can tell how to get approved by like legal and all these other like departments are going to overly sanitize it. That makes it have this stilted feel. I think there's a real value to having someone on the team or that's working directly with the CEO that can help them find that voice and kind of parlay the different approval processes that they still want to probably go through if they're a publicly traded company, especially to make sure they're not having any unintended consequences, but still having kind of find that balance between the too sanitized press release or the off the cuff, okay, we just tanked the stock price because he said something stupid. There's got to be a middle ground where you can have that approachability and that connection with people, that authenticity, without having to like do all the writing themselves. Because again, there's 1,000 things on their plate all the time, and so it's having that key person that can be the copywriter and help them.
Yeah,
it can be really valuable.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, man. And also, a lot of people don't think about this, but the best ghostwriters out there that I've learned from and the privilege of working alongside, try to embody myself, one of the things they tend to have in common as far as traits is they're excellent at research. It's a big part of my job, big part of my profession. So it's not always just about, okay, what does this founder care about? What's their story? What's their company's mission? What are they selling? Why do they care? Et cetera, et cetera. It's also, what is their target audience? What do those people care about? What are they seeking? What are their pain points, hot button issues? What really gets them riled up in a positive way to buy and to be loyal to an organization? What are their core values? Learning that and then understanding how to bridge that gap, right? So how can we show that the founder is in alignment with what their people are looking for, and telling the right story so that it's fun, it's compelling, it's engaging, it's thought-provoking, it builds that sense of community, that sense of rapport, that sense of you're not just, I'm big on this, you're not just going to get viewed as another transaction here. It's people helping people doing business with people. You're not just another cog in the machine, so to speak, right? That's how you get That's how you build successful businesses, where people feel that, excuse me, connected to you, where it just wouldn't make sense in their head to go and be with anybody else. You're it. You're their person.
Yeah. And so I imagine you have some a success story or two you could share about how you helped a founder or CEO build those sort of connections. Is there one that comes to mind?
Man, I absolutely. So when did I get connected with him? I think I got connected with him last August. So I think it was August, probably mid-August, 2024. The man has no social media presence. I'm not going to use his name because I'm under some confidentiality stuff with him. So, with that being said, no social media presence. Has had a story in him. Shared his book idea with me, memoir / some business teachings. He came from a very rough upbringing, grew up in poverty. He's been through a lot. He suffered through a lot of hardships and adversities. And he does very well now. He's a self-made multimillionaire. He's in the financial services industry. And there's a lot of lessons learned over the 3 decades or so that he's had his business. And the kind of work that my team has been able to do for him as far as capturing his personal story, right, his life story, giving that whole background and context, and then showcasing him as this industry leader in the financial services field, and then being able to kind of use that to potentially spearhead. He already has another book idea, taking some of those business lessons and saying, okay, now we can do a book that's more like a mastermind that focuses specifically on my entrepreneurial journey. So people can use that as hopefully a playbook if they want to go into entrepreneurship, or if they have a business already. They can take some of these principles, some of these fundamental things that I've learned along the way that I've used in my own life, and leverage and apply to my own life to accumulate, this wealth or this success or this type of clientele, and they can do it for themselves if they follow the plays. We've done so much great work together. We've been working together for, like I said, a little over a year. I'm just, it's been incredible because these types of engagements and relationships, they always end up turning into something beautiful. I mean, you learn so much about the other person and vice versa. Then all of a sudden it feels like, all right, it's you and me now until the end. It just doesn't make sense to go anywhere else because you learn about all these intricacies about them that normally, in more of a transactional, quick type of project or relationship, you're never going to uncover that stuff. And so he's taught me a ton about business, but he's also learned a ton about a lot of deficiencies he's had when it comes to social media, the internet, technology. These are not things that he had much interest in. I've been able to teach him a bunch, about that and how like business is kind of done today compared to 30 years ago when he first launched his business. So, yeah, lots of success stories, but that's one that's definitely been one of the most powerful for me, and the type of relationship I've been able to build with him. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's the fact that there's more of a exchange of ideas than just related to the book you're helping them write or the books you're helping them write, because there's all because you're connecting on that level. Like you said, you've learned about business, the strategy and that stuff, and he's learned more about the tech side of things and modern, and like a digitization of his business. I'm sure that there's some mutually beneficial results for both of you that go beyond the scope of whatever contract you signed, because it's more about building a connection than just doing a specific project.
I'm all about building a relationship.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing for me.
Yeah, that mindset's important. So when you're, I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people about like how to pick a good copywriter, or like what people should look for. Because it's one thing to go, okay, I want to start kind of getting help with writing a book or creating content. But I think a lot of people, there's so many options out there these days. What are some of the kind of criteria or kind of red flags or green flags to look for when you're picking out or trying to find the right copywriter for you because I imagine there's no one size fits all sort of option for people. So what are some things people should be asking themselves in order to find the best copywriter for them?
Man, copywriter, ghostwriter. So things I would look
or
for if
ghostwriting?
I,
Yeah.
yeah. So in this world, it would be more ghostwriting, not just writing copy. But um, when you're looking for that ghostwriter and trying to find the right fit, you need to be able to feel comfortable in that ghostwriter's ability to understand your mission and vision, especially if you own a business. If they can't really seem to comprehend it or uncover it for themselves, they shouldn't have to have you tell them, explicitly. I wouldn't think. Um, but if they can't really seem to see the eagle eye view of that and where you're looking to go, where you're looking to take things, it will be typically very difficult for that ghostwriter to write the content needed to get you there because they don't really know the destination, right? So they need to be able to understand that. Um, I think when you're looking for a ghostwriter, I would always recommend you find someone that, because typically most ghostwriters, especially premium ones, they're good at writing. That's typically a strong skill set they have. That's why they're ghostwriters or copywriters. So I wouldn't necessarily be overly concerned with the writing aspect because technically, from a technical standpoint, they should be able to write. Um, I would look for someone that asks thoughtful questions that make you share the right information to tell the proper story of your brand, your business, you, personal life, etc. And also not just someone that asks the right questions, but someone who knows how to listen at such a high level. I always tell my clients, I've gotten to the point now because I've done this for long enough, and I'm always working to try to improve. I've gotten to the point now where I can listen and understand what you explicitly have shared with me. So I pick up on that because you told me and I'm listening. But I've also gotten to a point where I can pick up on things that you didn't explicitly say. I can read between the lines and I can ask questions to uncover what you really meant by this thing that you just said a couple minutes ago. Because there's certain instances where there's more underneath the surface, sorry, and I know how to uncover that. That is a very high skill set type of a thing. That is not something that comes naturally to most people. That is something you have to work at typically. It's not a natural or normal thing for a lot of us. So the best ghostwriters out there, especially when you're looking for one, they're able to do that. They're able to listen for what you're not saying on top of what you are saying, and then fill in the blanks from there.
And what would be one of the biggest like red flags to look for in a ghostwriter that let you know that it's not a good fit besides just the not having those two green flags? Is there anything in particular that if you were shopping around for a ghostwriter for yourself, an example, and you saw this behavior or this trait, you go, okay, this is definitely a deal breaker?
I really can't stand. That's a really great question. I really can't stand ghostwriters or even just professionals in general, business professionals especially, that approach a relationship from a transactional perspective. Because most of us are very familiar with what it's like to be treated in a transactional way, right? Hey, Karl, you know, you're saying that you just need this anthology chapter created. Okay, it's got to be about 2,000 words. Here's the theme. Here's the anthology that you're featured in. Here's, what they're about, their mission. Okay, that'll be $500. That'll be $1,000, whatever. When do you need it done by? Next Friday. Okay, got it. Yep, $1,000. Okay. Pay the invoice. Okay, Brian, here, I paid the invoice. Okay. Done. Next time you need something, let me know. Have a great day. Have a nice life. On to the next client. Most of us are very familiar with being treated like that. We get treated like that at a lot of places we go to, at a lot of places we may have worked at in the past, where you're just another number. Be very cautious of not just ghostwriters, again, anybody that just approaches the relationship with you or the engagement with you as Another transaction. I am not out here just trying to complete invoices. Get paid out on invoices. Right. Edit. Okay, done. Here, have a nice life. Next. That's not how I operate. I can't stand that. They should be focused on, the ghostwriter should be focused on getting to know you, all of the parts of you that are relevant, and even some that may seem like are maybe not overly relevant. Might seem a little irrelevant, but turns out I can use this. This is helping me understand you better and how you became this person with this incredible business that you're obviously trying to scale. I can use this. I'm glad I asked. So building that type of relationship, I think it's crucial. It's not about completing transactions or getting paid out on invoices and keeping it moving.
Awesome. I love that answer. Well, thank you so much for connecting with me today, Brian. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please like, leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Brian, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.